Alright guys, welcome back to our Strixhaven Red set review. We have Yanks back on the call with us, and we are going to be looking at every single card and giving it a rating 1 to 5, and that's strictly based on its potential limited performance in the average deck. So let's go ahead and start right away with this Dispute. It is a 1-mana instant. Target creature blocks this turn if able. You may have it gain a reach until end of turn, and it learns.
Yeah, card I would never even consider putting in my deck if it didn't have Learn. Since it does, maybe if I have good lessons, you can get some value out of this. You can force, like their Archmage to block a 3/3 or something, or you can have one of your own creatures ambush a flyer.
So its ability itself is pretty minimal, I think, but in this particular set, it has a fair amount of synergies. It will get you your learn spell, so even if you kill, if you're saying the average thing that you're able to kill is like a stupid pest token or something in a situation where like you really want to kill their, or you don't even care about killing their things, right? That's like kind of the low bar there. You're getting the learn, you're triggering your Magecraft, so which will also, the learn potentially could trigger your Magecraft again. So if you have any form of synergies with the card, I think it's playable. I don't think that its ability is worth playing on its own in any way. It's supposed to be removal, but it's like a 0 removal spell.
Yeah, I'm never playing this card without the learn upside. Even with a little bit of Magecraft, I'm not playing it unless I have something to go get.
If I've got 3 Magecraft cards and 2 learns, then sure. But that is kind of the minimum bar that makes this playable to me. And then if I happen to kill something, that's just upside.
Agreed.
Great. 1/5?
Yeah.
Great. Small text. Your turn.
All right. Ardent Dustspeaker. 4 and a red for a 3/4 Minotaur Shaman. Whenever Ardent Dustspeaker attacks, you may put an instant or sorcery card from your graveyard on the bottom of your library. If you do, exile the top 2 cards to your library, and you can play those cards this turn. So it's an attack trigger. You have to have spells in your graveyard for this to do anything. But if you do, you basically draw 2 cards for the turn. I like this, especially in a blue-red Prismari spells deck. That card could be great.
Yeah, it's also helping you not mill yourself, which, isn't really relevant in a lot of formats, but I've had some grindy games where we go down to the final couple of cards, so a trigger or 2 on this is quite valuable. If you can shuffle your spells back into your deck by any way, then you're like increasing your ratio of good spells to lands, which I'm always a huge fan of. It's a little expensive for the body compared to like the pinger we saw in the black one, right? It was a 4-mana 3/4.
Yeah, it's 1 mana. It's 1 mana too expensive for the body, but I really like the ability. You got to have a decent number of spells. You're not playing this in a 6-spell deck. But if you've got, 9 instants or sorcery, 8, 9 instants or sorceries, yeah, I'm pretty happy with this card. I think it's really good in those decks. I think on average it's probably like a 2/5, but it's got some upside.
Yeah, I mean, even in a smaller one, like even in a deck with less spells, like you were saying that you didn't want to run it in, how many triggers do you realistically need to get off this guy for him to get his value? Like, if you're able to attack with this and get 2 triggers, like, that's pretty good late game. 4 cards is a lot of value.
You only need 1 trigger to get its value.
Yeah, I actually think that if my deck doesn't have a ton of expensive things that are good, I'm pretty much happy to run this in any average spell deck.
Yeah, that's fair.
Because, I mean, most decks run how many instants and sorceries typically? 5?
Yeah, 5, 6 probably.
So, I mean, like I said, if we only need to draw 1 to make this card get its value, so it's a little pricey. So if you're mana, I'm more concerned that my curve won't be able to support it as like an extra, but if it's not too expensive for the rest of the deck, I think I'm pretty happy to run it.
Yeah, I'm probably not ever cutting this card, but I also tend to play a ton of spells.
Great, so I'm at a 3 at the like base.
Yeah, I could definitely move up to a 3.
Great. Blood Age General, 2 mana 2/2. Attacking spirits get +1/+0 until end of turn. It's a tap ability. So it can't trigger on itself.
Yeah, it's a bit of a weird card, right? It's obviously an aggressive card, but can't attack with it to use its aggressive ability.
Yes.
But you got enough spirits, in your Lorehold deck. This could be good. I mean,
I like it a
2 mana,
little
2.
less because the spirits don't fly. So it just makes your 3/2s into 4/2s, which get eaten by the exact same things.
They do. It lets them attack into 3/4s, which we've seen a few of, which is nice.
Yeah, seems kind of corner case for the average.
But yeah, it's not great. But it's a bear with some upside, and it's a spirit itself, which is relevant
That's true.
for not for its ability, but for other abilities.
I like this bear's upside less than the rest, I think. Maybe it's on par with the life gain in general.
Yeah, I think it's in that ballpark. It's not amazing.
Great.
But it's like, you need 2 drops and an aggressive.
2/5 then.
Yep.
Just it feels like such a nombo to me.
It is. It definitely is a nombo.
All right, Conspiracy Theorist, 2 mana, 2/2. Whenever it attacks, you may pay 1 and discard a card. If you do, draw. Whenever you discard 1 or more non-land cards, you may exile one of them from your graveyard. If you do, you may cast it this turn. Wait, what? So you discard a card to draw a card, and you play that card anyway?
Yes.
Great. I like it. Let's do it. And it's a bear at its worst?
Yeah, there's nothing not to like about this card.
It does say cast, so you can't discard a land. So you can't play land, right? Or whatever.
Yeah. And it only triggers on non-land discards anyway.
Great.
Yeah, it's also good with the second part doesn't only trigger on discarding with it. So if you have other things that let you discard, you get a Faithless Looting from your Mystical Archive slot. You can pick one of those 2 that you discard and cast it.
Now, I will say it's a 2/2, so when you have the mana to use its ability by discarding another card, you kind of need to have a little bit more mana, with the exception of like the super hyper aggressive decks where it's like attack you, discard pump spell, draw card, pump spell anyway. That's going to be pretty freaking spicy. But if you have any like longer game deck, like maybe the Prismari decks, then by the time you can actually attack with this, you're probably not getting the value. Right?
Yeah, that's true.
Like it'll do it once, but then it'll just be dead.
Yeah, but you can still use it. Yeah, if you can, you can at least cycle away a land. But yeah, you might get it in the process.
Yeah. So it feels better to me in Lorehold than it does in Prismari.
Yeah, I agree with that. And I think the art reflects that as well. That looks like
I can't wait to be like, attack you, discard Lightning Helix, kill your thing, draw cards. Rawr. I'm pretty happy with this card. 3/5?
Yep.
Great. Moving on. Crackle with Power. It is an XXX red spell. Holy smokes. It deals 5 times X to each of up to X targets. What the heck?
So let's run through the math on this. 5 mana deals 5 damage to one thing.
Yes.
8 mana, it deals 10 damage to 2 things.
And it says targets, so you can also go face.
Yep. 11 mana, it deals 15 damage to 3 things. And if somehow you cast this for 14, you can just 20 them.
And kill their other creatures.
Yes, which is kind of mean at that point if you're also killing them.
X getting... So I get that X gets bigger for the damage, but it getting more targets as it goes up in damage seems a little redundant. Like, you don't really need to hit more targets at that point because you're probably just fireballing them in the face.
Yeah, I think it's nice. It's at where X equals 2 that you can get 2 things, and dealing 8 might not kill them, where that's probably the most relevant.
Yes.
Or 10. Sorry, 10, not 8. But yeah, I mean, there's a reason it's a mythic. Probably also because triple X will confuse people.
8 mana is an awful lot. I feel like this is almost always getting cast for 1.
Yeah, this is going to be cast a lot for 5 mana.
And it hits any target, so it's like a slightly better, like, there we see a ton of 5 damage, 5 mana spells, right?
Yeah. And we always play them, the ones that at least target creatures. This one also has the ability to be a lava axe.
Yes. So that's what I was saying. It was slightly better than either the lava axe or the, what are they called? Shredded sails? I don't even remember. Whatever.
But, you know, in Prismari, where we've seen some treasure token stuff going on, you can get to 8 probably in a limited game.
Yeah, it's definitely, you can always get to 8 in a limited game.
And you can get Channel out of your Mystical Archive and play red-green, a color combination that's not supported, and go nuts.
Yes, you could do that.
For red, green, and 12 life,
I think
you can kill them.
8 is something that you can cast it for all the time. I just mean that, like, more often than not, you'll probably just want to burn it on 5.
I agree. I think it's going to mostly be cast for 5.
Now, I'm not saying 8 is hard to get to. Like, if you draw this, 10 turns into the game, oh yeah, I'm gonna wait for that extra mana or whatever. But yeah, I think this is just reasonable for 5. I'm actually not over the moon about it, just because the difference between 5 and 8 mana is kind of a lot.
It is. I'm pretty high in this card. It is very expensive. So, like, again, I think it's gonna be way better in Prismari than in Lorehold.
I agree with that. Yeah, if you have treasure tokens, great. I'm all for it.
The fact that the least you can cast for this for is 5 means it's going to trigger the 5 cost spells or greater sort of sub-theme that exists in Prismari as well.
I agree with that.
So I don't know. I think I've got this at like a 3-5.
Okay, so I was like trying to like downgrade it, and I'm like 3-5 or 4, and you were trying to I thought you were like 5-5. I was like, what the heck?
No, it's too expensive to be a 5. Maybe it should be a 4, not a 3-5, because it is, it's weirdly flexible. Like, it's at the high end, it's flexible, and I'm certainly going to make it my goal to pay 14 and 20 somebody in this set.
Yes. So my thing is like, okay, it's a lava axe, which is like a 2, or it's like the 5 mana 5 damage spells to a creature, which is like a 3/5 often in red. Like, they're usually one of the weaker removal spells. The flexibility gives it like a 0.5 point bump, but the late game bonus gives it like a full point bump, because if you are playing it up for 8, then you're just like, woo, having a party.
I can definitely put this at 4. I was trying to tone it down because I was worried I was going to be like way high on this card, because it's just kind of exciting.
That's good. I was actually a little underwhelmed, so I toned it up a little bit. And we met right in the middle. Perfect. Tiny text, your turn.
Draconic Intervention, 2 red sorcery. As an additional cost to cast the spell, exile an instant or sorcery from your graveyard. Draconic Intervention deals X damage to each non-dragon creature, where X is the exiled card's mana value. Creature dealt damage this way would die this turn, exile it instead, and you have to exile Draconic Intervention.
Okay.
So, yeah, this is kind of a card that works in both color combinations, because you're trying to get stuff, you exile stuff out of your yard is something that Lorehold wants, but you want it to be a spell, which is what Prismari wants.
This is a board clear that requires you to sack a creature. Is that what it's
No, it's a board clear that you have to exile an instant or sorcery from your yard and do X for whatever that card's CMC is.
Okay. I mixed that up. I thought it was sacrifice a creature. I was like, what? But no, I mixed up where you said if when a creature is dealt. That's why I thought it was confusing.
Oh, yeah. It just exiles all the creatures.
Yeah, I zoned out.
I think, this is, as much as it does work a little bit with the Lorehold synergies, this is a Prismari card, because they're going to have the expensive spells that you're going to want in the graveyard for this to work.
I agree. 4 mana do 2 to everything. Like, we're not happy. 4 mana do 3 to everything. Maybe we're happy, but it's just so stinking situational. And I tend to not like to board clear things in my red decks. It's not usually the business I want to be in.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I'll I can definitely see decks where I'll play this card if I've got enough decent spells, and I'm again probably in Prismari, but yeah, this is just too conditional to be exciting.
Great. What's our score here?
Um, got it at like a 2-5. It's got some serious upside, um, but there are decks that just aren't going to play it at all.
Yeah, I was maybe a little on the lower side just because it doesn't tend to fit the theme of red that I tend to see, but I can definitely see going up a bit higher for Prismati just because you are doing a little bit more of the control-y stuff.
Yeah.
So the games are going to go a bit longer. All right. Dragon's Approach, 3 mana. Dragon's Approach deals 3 damage to each opponent. You may exile Approach from your graveyard. If you do, search your library for a dragon card, put it onto the battlefield, and shuffle. Wait, what? Are there dragons in this format?
This is such a meme card. Yeah, they're the Elder Dragon legends that are each of the like founders of each school are multicolored mythic dragons. This is just a meme card. Like 3 mana, deal 3, and you can have as many of them as you want in your deck.
But it gets a dragon into play?
If you exile 5 of them.
Okay. That's interesting. 3 mana, deal 3, I'm already kind of fine with.
Only to players, though.
Oh yeah, only to players. I'm not fine with this. I take it back.
Yeah. This is like, try to make a meme with get like 8 of these in your deck and just try to kill somebody with just them.
Like rat decks or whatever.
Yeah, exactly. That's what this is. It's a 1.
Great. When I read it, I assumed it was any target. And I was like, okay, well,
Yeah. This is meant for people to have fun with in casual play, not in limited.
Got it. Ifrit Flame Painter. The 1/4 for 4 with double strike. Keyword for our white card.
Yep.
When it deals combat damage to a player, you may cast target instant or sorcery card from your graveyard without paying its mana cost. If that spell would be put into a graveyard, exile it instead. Okay.
So this is a lot like Dreadhorde Arcanist that we saw in War of the Spark, except it needs to deal damage to the player instead of just attack, but can hit any instant or sorcery.
Yes.
Instead of just equal to its power. If you can find a way to get this card through, this card is great. It has huge upside.
Getting to run back all your removal spells seems great, but it's only a 1/4, so it's not going to be easy to get through. Any, X3 just bricks it.
Yeah. I mean, this is the sort of card you start playing marginal pump spells with.
Someone's asking if you can cast the XX spell with this. You can, but I think X's are always 0 when you cast like that.
Correct. You can cast it, but it would not do. It would trigger your Magecraft.
That's true.
Yeah, I mean, 4 mana 1/4 double strike is a weird body and is pretty good on its own. Like, it's going to be annoying to attack into. It can attack into most things, even if it can't necessarily get through them.
4 mana is weird, though. That seems awfully high. Like, it's not a good body for 4 mana at all. It pairs up nicely against, like, the Lorenhold 3/2s. Yeah, I mean, if your deck has removal and you're going to be able to get this in, like, even just once or twice, then it'll be good. But if your deck is a little light on removal and you're just going to get bricked by a 3/2, probably not excited to play this.
No, I agree with that. Yeah, I mean, there is the note. I mean, again, if you're getting this through, you're in pretty good shape anyway. But if you get it through, you actually get to do this twice because it has double strike.
Yeah, I'm kind of assuming that there won't be that many spells.
Yeah.
That I'll want to do that with. Like,
yeah, once you get it through and hit once, you're in pretty good shape anyway. But yeah, if you can find a way to like give this trample, like plus something and trample, then you can get through pretty often, which would be nice.
Was there a blue card that gave flying? A lot of
Probably,
times,
they're usually-
there's like a 2/1 that you pay 3, give flying, something like that. And the Prismari deck might be kind of spicy.
There's the one blue card that gives things unblockable.
Ooh, there we go. That's where it's at.
Yeah, the Wormhole Serpent for 4 mana. You can give it unblockable. So yeah, there's some uses for this, but it's a little bit of a like pseudo build around.
What are we thinking score wise?
I'd put it at like a 2-5. I'm not super unhappy to put it in any deck really because it's effectively a 2-4 for 4, which isn't good, but sometimes you're going to get a free hit in with it.
Yeah, I'm actually a little bit happier with it just because the 4-drop slots don't seem to be overly bogged down like they are in other formats. So I think a lot of our 4-drops are just going to be slightly underwhelming cards in general. So
Could be.
I think I'm slightly happier just because even if I don't have a consistent way of getting it in, sometimes, we'll just be at, even or I have a removal spell for their one creature. If it gets a trigger once in a while, I'm pretty happy.
Yep.
Its ability seems strong enough, so I have it at a 3.
Sure.
All right.
Hey, I'm giving my last card trample.
Woo! Oh yeah. plus 3/+1 and trample. Great. Cast this on it. It'll be fantastic. And then cast it again.
Exactly. It's a 4/5 double striking trample. They blocked you with the 2/3. You hit them, and then you hit them for 7, and you get to cast something else.
It's great.
That being said, this card I think is pretty mediocre.
I think the learn on it's pretty good.
It is nice. Again, all these learn cards will, if you have good lessons, they jump and.
This feels better than the dispute, right? Which was the weird. It has to block and learn. This is lot better than that.
Absolutely. This card actually does something.
Yeah. If I have lessons, I'm happy to run this. If I don't, nah. Maybe red green is not a thing in this format, right?
No.
Yeah, probably not happy to run this then. 2?
Yeah, I've got it 2.
Borderline playable. All right.
Yeah,
Explosive Welcome, 8 mana. Deals 5 damage to any target and 3 damage to any other target. Add 3 mana.
Yeah, this is let's find out as we go through this set review just how many treasures and ramp stuff and make things cheaper effects Prismari has, because you need them to cast this card.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of like the other card where we said, 8 is not undoable at the end of a game. But, you definitely want some assistance if at all possible. If I'm super light on removal, and my curve is low enough in general, maybe I will sneak in an 8-drop, but probably not.
Yeah, I could definitely see playing this card in the right deck, but it's not an auto include. Because of that, it's not going to pick.
This is almost like a split rating, but it's hard to say until we see the Prismari multicolor cards, right?
Yeah. Got enough, ramp and cost reduction stuff. Then this card's really good.
Yeah.
But at flat 8 mana, yikes.
Yeah, I agree with that. At flat 8 mana, I think it's like a 1/5.
Yeah, if you can't get this down.
It's like a thing that's questionable playable.
I guess you could Faithless Looting it into your yard and then attack with the Efreet and cast it for free.
Yeah, I want to cast it off that other rare. That's a good idea. I should totally do that. That's a good idea. Hammy Borks. Oh, did we do that one? Yeah, 1/5. Great. Fervent Mastery, guys. 5 mana, you may pay 4 instead. If you pay 4, an opponent discards any number of cards, then draws that many. Well, that's a nice bonus for them. Unless they're hellbent. Search your library for up to 3 cards, put them into your hand, then shuffle and discard at random. Oh, and shuffle and discard 3 cards at random. Oh, so you need a ton of cards in hand.
This card is just awful.
Agreed.
This is card disadvantage, and you might not even get to keep the cards you want.
Great.
For 5 mana. Yeah, this is terrible. This is a 1.
Yeah, agreed. Play red-white and play the special card that lets you get 3 planes out of your deck. Do that twice, then do this.
Yep.
Play some Russian roulette with half your hand. Great, moving along. First day of class, 2 mana. Whenever a creature enters the battlefield under your control this turn, put a +1/+1 counter on it, and it gains haste with a learn ability. I don't hate it. I hate it if it didn't have learn.
Yeah, this is another card I'm never playing without good lessons, and even with them, probably going to look for other learn cards first.
It's certainly still better than the dispute, I think, in general.
Yes, I agree. I think it's better than the dispute, but worse than the pump spell.
Great, 2. 4 mana, 4/3. Whenever one or more cards leave the graveyard, it deals 1 damage to each opponent. Oh.
Yeah, so lore hold card. You get some triggers. It's also a spirit, which fits with the other lore hold theme. Fine playable.
Can we do something really, really cute?
Go on.
So red is paired with what? White and blue. Can we splash black and splash go blank, targeting ourselves?
It still only deals 1.
Oh, what?
It's whenever 1 or more leaves, you get 1 trigger.
Oh, poop. Screw that.
It'll deal 2 and 2 HG.
No. I was like, you just exile your own graveyard and hit them for 10? Great. I'm done. Let's go. I'm going to do that as an achievement, but no. Okay, never mind. That card's... I mean, there are cards that let you remove a card every single turn kind of thing and put a +1/+1 counter, so there's some good synergies here. It's definitely going to be playable, but my fun was ruined.
That's what I'm here for.
I am now sad. What do we like this card at?
I think it's probably a 2/5. I'm happy enough with it. I mean, you want some synergies. If you don't have anything, it's probably a 2, but...
Yeah, I agree. I think it's... that the 2/5 is like dead in the like middle, right? If it's borderline unplayable if you don't have the synergies. If you have them, it's good. So the average deck maybe will have a couple of triggers for it, but it probably won't get a ton of value. So your turn.
Grinning Ignis. This is a reprint from, I forget when this was originally printed, but 2 and a red for a 2/2, and you can pay red to return Grinning Ignis to its owner's hand, and you can add 2 colorless and a red. You can only do this at sorcery speed. So it's like a delayed ritual effect that you can do over and over. Every other turn, basically, you can make 2 extra mana
To help us cast 8 mana burn spells.
Yep, exactly.
Casting that thing for 6 does sound way better than 8.
Oh, absolutely. You can only do this as a sorcery, so you can't do fun tricks like block with it and bring it back to save it. You're spending 4 mana to get 3, but it's going to accelerate you on that extra turn, on that next turn.
Yeah, definitely. I don't know if there's any like creature entering the battlefield effects possibly as well.
Yeah, if there's stuff like that, if you've got enough expensive spells,
I could see running this. The average deck, probably very unexciting. Lauren Holt does not want this card at all.
No, this is 100% a Prismari card.
Yeah.
And if you got some high, I hesitate to say high impact expensive cards, because if they're not high impact and they're expensive, you shouldn't be playing them. But if you've got enough of those, then yeah, I might run this as a little bit of a mana boost.
I feel like this is kind of a split card, even though it's not good enough, but it's like bad in most decks, and then it's like, yeah, I'll run this. So this is probably the lowest quality split card, but like I'm hesitant to give it a 2/5 because it's just super atrocious in like 2/3 of the decks.
Yeah, I think it's like a 1/2/5.
Great. Okay, I kind of put it down just roughly as a 1/3, but yeah. I even think that is probably quite generous of me.
Yeah. It's a good enabler if you have the right deck, and maybe there's some other synergies we haven't seen yet. that'll work with this.
All monitor. I like this art.
Yeah.
It's cute. It is a 1/1 with haste. Target creature can't block this turn for 2 mana. That's actually kind of not a terrible ability, but it's pretty low impact on its own. I mean, I typically don't like these kinds of effects.
Yeah, I'm not a fan of them.
I feel like if this was a 2/2 for 2, I'd be way happier.
Oh, absolutely. I also think this card would be better if you were in a set where red green was a thing, and you could, make it harder for him to block some enormous,
Some big, enormous monster. Yeah.
Yeah. But if you have to stick
Prismari
this in
is
your
like
deck,
not small though. It makes a bunch of 4/4 tokens and stuff, which is typically around the realm of green. I think Prismari is going to be a bit bigger creature wise than we would typically expect.
Yeah, I think if you put this in your deck as like a 22nd, 23rd card, you're not going to be that upset. But I'm not trying to.
Great, 2 it is. Heated Debate, 3 mana instant spell. The spell can't be countered. It deals 4 damage to target creature or planeswalker. Great.
Yep.
Instant speed.
I like that they had to put the text "This includes" by the ward ability on the card.
Oh. So you don't have to pay the ward cost.
Yep.
Spicy. I didn't even notice that.
But
4?
Yeah, 4. Very good removal.
Instant speed is pretty good.
Yep.
Inspiration, 3 mana sorcery speed, deals 3 damage to any target with learn. Now this is the card I thought the other card was.
Okay.
The dragon one that costs 3 mana.
Oh yeah.
When I read that card, I thought it was this. And I was like, yeah, this is kind of fine.
This is the type of learn card you want to be playing.
Oh yeah, this is premium learn.
Great. I would play you would play this card without learn. Yeah, it's a little overcosted, but you would still play it.
Yeah, yeah, it's a tad bit overcosted, I agree. But I think the
for a source.
Yes. For an instant, I would be fine with it. At a sorcery speed, I would expect it to be a bit cheaper, I agree. I would play this without learn. With any learn, even the crappiest lesson there is, this is great value.
Yeah, and I mean, as much as we don't want to be doing this with learn, right? You can use it to rummage, and in this case, it's okay because you're getting your value out of the first card. So if you deal 3 to something and then discard a land and draw something, that's still pretty good value.
Agreed. What are you thinking score-wise?
It's tough because we just gave that last one a 4, and I think this is better.
I do not think it is better. 4 damage at instant speed for the same cost versus 3 damage at sorcery speed. That alone is like, I mean, maybe if you're getting like a premium lesson, but I think the average lesson is pretty low quality.
Yeah, it replaces itself. It can hit players, which the other one can't. Which doesn't come up that often, but it's not nothing either. I think it's still in that same 4 range, but I would take this card over Heated Debate.
Really?
Yep.
I value instant speed way too much.
Again, if we see the whole format in 4 versus 3 becomes a really big difference, then that would change.
For me, I think it's a 3/5, and then it would only change up to a 4 for me if like the quantity of reasonable learn spells is good.
Yeah, I think that certainly makes it better. I think this is one of the few times when it's not as important because I'm okay with rummaging with this card.
What do you mean rummaging?
Discard a card to draw. The second option for learn.
Yeah. I see what you're saying.
Because I've already gotten a full card's worth of value out of this.
Yeah, I haven't. When looking at learn, I really haven't been considering the redraw mechanic. I've just been considering what learn cards are available.
Yeah, and I haven't been for the most part because usually if most of those cards are not, you're not getting a full value card out of it. So if you're then rummaging, you're like 2-for-1ing yourself. But since this I think is be a legitimate 1-for-1 anyway, 1-for-1 with discard something to draw something is pretty good.
I agree. Someone's saying it's an unspectacle skewer, like as is, without the learn ability, which is true. This one's a tough one, actually. The rummage is nice. Yeah, I'm kind of on the fence. Like I could be talked up to a 4. The other one feels so much better to me, though.
Yeah, I mean, instant speed matters, certainly. I think the instant speed is like gives you a chance to get a 2-for-1, while the learn gives you a chance to get a 2-for-1.
It's also going to be really good against like Prismari tokens. We've seen a ton of 3/4s in the format.
Yeah, I will definitely, as we keep going, if we see more and more X4s, then that would definitely shift my opinion.
Go ahead.
Eliminate history. 2 red for a sorcery, a lesson. Discard any number of cards, then draw that many cards. Then if there are 7 or more cards in your graveyard, make a 3/2 red-white spirit token.
Okay. It's a lesson, so it's free.
It's free, which mitigates the fact that it's otherwise card disadvantage.
Yes.
Just card neutral then if you get it for free.
I mean, if you make a 3/2, then it's not necessarily card neutral either. It's
sure,
I'm not casting it unless you're not casting it unless you have a ton of extra lands to pitch, and you're typically not having a ton of extra lands to pitch until you have like a poop ton of lands in your graveyard already, right? Like just like small creatures and spells, right? You're probably pretty deep into the game at that point.
Yeah, I think this is a card I'm not prioritizing, but I'm pretty happy to have this in the sideboard red decks.
Yeah, this is kind of the situation we had with that weird black planeswalker removal lesson, where it's like, I want this in my board all the time, but I don't really want to have to take it, which I think is going to be a weird thing for lessons, where I think they'll be very underdrafted in the beginning, and then they'll be hyper overdrafted, and then they will go back to being underdrafted.
Yeah, I agree. I think this is a little better than the black one because it's not going to ever be completely dead.
I agree with that.
Like I would take, unlike the black one, I would take this over like low impact playables, especially early.
Yeah, I agree with that. When I was talking about the black one, I was talking about like taking it over a low impact playables, because you usually have more low impact playables that you end up cutting. So it like, you know what I mean? That's what I was talking about before. But not over like a 23rd playable that I needed to have 23 playables. Yeah, I think this card is pretty good. It's pretty weird. If you've got lessons that are worth playing, like the last burn spell we were talking about, then we're really happy.
Yeah, I think in general this card's probably just a 2, but it can be high impact in the right situation, which is what you want out of your lesson.
Yes. It's gonna be really, really nice late game. Make sure you guys like sandbag a couple extra lands. 2/1 for 2 Historian. Pay 5 mana, exile it from your graveyard, create a 3/2 red-white spirit creature token. So it's just a curve filler that kind of comes back later. A little extra value, and it triggers your exile other mechanics, right? For Lorenhold.
Yep. It makes a spirit, which is what they want. Like, I'm in for this card.
Yeah, it's got a ton of later value. Like, it's not, I don't like 2/1s for 2 typically, but triggering your spirit mechanics, triggering your cards being exiled from your graveyard mechanics, creating an additional body for basically 1 piece of cardboard is pretty nice. Yeah, I think I'm in for this card.
Yeah, you can do it at instant speed, so you don't have to, tie up your mana on your turn. You can do it. It comes in tapped, so you can't like bring in a blocker, but you can bring in a pseudo haste creature at the end of their turn.
I think you're getting between all of those different things, even if you're not triggering all of them at the same time, like it covers a wide range of things to where I think this card is a 3.
Yep, I agree.
Great. Mascot, 4 mana. Target spell costs 3 less to cast if your target is a creature token. Gain control of it. Untap it, it gets +2/+0 and gains haste until end of turn. It's kind of the first steel spell we've really seen that pumps. It's kind of interesting.
Yeah, I mean, you get your threat and act of treason effects in every format. I don't like playing these cards unless I have sacrifice outlets, and black red is not really a thing in this set.
I agree with that.
Um, but the ability to cast it for one, there are gonna be a lot of tokens running around.
And
Maybe this is a card you bring in against
and the
like blue
fact that
green.
it gets the pump makes a token, even if it's like a insect or something, right? It makes it, or a pest. It makes it much more of a threat. I think that I kind of like the 1 extra mana for the +2 damage, because it makes it far more likely that this steal spell will be that lethal amount of damage at the top end of your aggressive deck.
Yeah, I think I'm treating this to me as a sideboard card against like blue green fractal tokens and maybe blue red elementals where they're big.
I,
I could see a world where I bring it in against Silver Quill for a 4/1 flyer.
I think the Prismati decks is where you're going to want this card. Against the Prismati decks.
Yeah, I think the Quandrix decks can make some really big tokens too.
I haven't seen enough of the Quandrix because we haven't done the green really, and I didn't see a ton of it in the blue. I feel like the big Quandrix tokens are going to be generated from mostly the green stuff, which we haven't done green or multicolor yet. So
Yeah.
I saw more of like the math side of the Quandrix in the blue. Yep. So we'll have to see, but it does seem like the Prismari does a fair amount of 4/4s. So it's very consistent.
Yeah.
I typically rate these around a 2. They're okay for like a top end card in your aggressive decks.
I'm typically lower on them than you. I always have these as sideboard cards.
Right.
And I know there's the occasional very aggressive deck that does want
them. We got another sorcery speed 5 mana spell, deals 5 damage to target creature. Excess damage dealt goes face. Okay, it's got a little bit of trample ability on it. It's kind of cute.
Yeah. 5 mana, 5 damage. We play this card in every format. Usually prefer it to be 4 and a red instead of 3 red, but it's got the trample effect that kind of helps make up for that a little bit.
Agreed.
Usually have this around like a 3.
Yeah, I think so. Normally I think I have them at like a 2/5 or a 3. I think the trample's pretty nice. There's going to be situations where they've got a 5/5 and a 1/1, but you just want to kill the 1/1 to kill them.
Yep.
That's definitely something I think we can see happening.
Yeah, it's right in that. If you have a bunch of the 3 mana removal spells, this becomes less important.
Yes. Great. A 1/5 4 mana Reacher. Pay 2, sacrifice it, return target instant or sorcery from your graveyard to your hand. That's kind of spicy.
Yeah, and it's a spirit, which is what Lorehold wants. I think if I remember right, there are some cards that bring back spirits, so you can sack this, get back an instant sorcery, and then use that to get back this. And
we saw that with the not Spellgorger weird, but there was a weird. It was a 1/4 that you sack, you get a spell back, and then there was a spell that gets 2 creatures back out of the graveyard, so you just net positive 1 creature each time. That was pretty cute.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, I think this is going to be fine if you have that. If you have that synergy, it also eats 2 Inklings all day long.
Yeah, it's true. I'm a little less excited about this card, only because I worry that the quality of the spells in general might be too low to want to play this for 4, sacrifice it, get a mediocre burn spell or whatever back. Might be a little bit more than I'm willing to commit to, but like, yeah, if my deck has got good spells, sure. Or if I have ways to bring back this creature and get back poopy spells, sure.
Yeah, I think you need good spells, or you need those Lorehold synergies where you want to be removing things from your graveyard or having spirits.
This feels like the worst of to me, of the 4 mana cycles.
Yeah, if only because this is like a red-white card and it's very defensive, which is a little weird.
Yeah.
I know red-white isn't the hyper aggro it usually is, but it's still a. So I think I've got this on its face as like a 2, but it can go up.
Gotcha. Yeah, I agree. I put it at a 2/5 on its face. Someone's asking if the Mystical Archive cards will be rated. They've already been rated here on stream. If you're interested in checking them out, they will be posted on the YouTube channel Friday. Also, if you're watching this on YouTube, they're already up. Go watch it. After this video, though.
Yeah, finish this one first.
All right, small text, your turn.
Retriever Phoenix, 4 mana, 2/2, flying haste Phoenix. It enters the battlefield. If you cast it, learn. And as long as it's in your graveyard, if you would learn, you can instead bring this back to the battlefield.
Heyo, I like this card. Let's go. Gives me all the poopy learn cards. Let's go.
We see this rare Phoenix effect that can come back from the yard for in some different way, fairly often, or back to your hand with haste. Usually with the set's mechanic, one of the set's mechanics being what triggers it. Yeah, this card's great. Aggressive, flying.
Card value.
It's replacing itself, and then you keep going.
What do you like it as?
It needs some support because on its own, it's just a 4 mana 2/2 flyer with learn. So it's not going to win the game on its own, I don't think. But it's like a 3/5.
Yeah, I was kind of on the fence between a 3/5 and a 4, just because I think that the poopy learns won't be hard to pick up, and if you're able to get more than one, that's a ton of value.
It is. I think the one thing that concerns me about that is that you might end up with a bunch of bad learn spells that are getting you back a 2/2 flyer that just might be trading with tokens all day.
That's true.
But I still like the card. That's why I don't have it as a 4.
It does feel like a really good... I know you don't want to run bad cards to trigger a good card, but like it definitely makes those weaker learn abilities really good, because like we were saying, those were not pulling their own weight, but getting this back, which then gets another spell, that is a lot of weight.
It doesn't get another spell because it's only when you cast it.
Oh, it doesn't go back to your hand, it goes to the battlefield?
It goes to the battlefield.
Oh, that's poopier. I thought it went to your hand.
It's good and bad. You don't have to pay the 4 mana again.
That's true. But it seemed like an engine to me, where you were like cycling into more and more learn abilities. Okay.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, yeah, I take it back, 3/5. I was a little happier with getting a lot of learn things out of my thing. Or I was excited to learn a lot of lessons.
Set's trying to make everybody want to go to school.
I never learned my lesson, so it's fine. Start from scratch. 3 mana, choose one. Start from scratch deals 1 damage to any target or destroy an artifact. This is a sideboard card.
Yeah, it's a lesson. It's a good one. This is the kind of card I want to pick up because I want my destroy target artifacts to be in my sideboard, but being able to access them game 1 is great.
Yeah, I agree with that. It's never the kind of card we would put in our main deck, which we almost always rate as a 1, but because it is a lesson, we do want to pick them up slightly higher, so it's just a really weird rating system.
Yeah. Yeah, like this is a card I'm definitely taking over, like, back-end playables. Because even the 1 damage can kill a 2/1 flyer, which there are going to be a bunch of.
Yeah.
But I'm not picking it particularly early, so I don't know. I kind of want to call this card like a 2/5, but with the knowledge that it's only going in your sideboard, which is a little weird.
All right, well then let's just meet in the middle and we'll call it a 2.
Yeah.
A 2 with a sideboard.
For rating.
Storm Kiln Artist. It is a 2/2 dwarf for 4. It's +1/+0 for each artifact you control. There's not that many artifacts in the set, right? Whenever you cast a copy of an instant or sorcery, create a treasure token. There it is. That makes more sense. Great.
This is the card you want to ramp into your 8-drop sorceries.
Yes.
Not as much the Grinning Ignis. I mean, this is an engine. This is an engine card for Prismari, and it gets bigger at At least while it's in the process of making your tokens, it's growing and becoming more of a threat on its own.
Yeah, it's got a 2 but, which makes me just still think it just gets eaten by a 2/1, and there seems to be lots of those in the format, so...
Sure.
There's even a flash 2/1 in the format, which makes me hate these kinds of cards even more. But I mean, yeah, I like the treasure token, I like the ramp. It lets you splash, it lets you fix, it lets you do all the things. But the body is a little less exciting for me. I like the Magecraft creates treasures is where the value is for this.
Oh, agreed.
What do you like it for a rating?
I've got it like a 2/5. With it's going to be a very important card if you have a bunch of those sorceries, but otherwise it's just not playable.
I'm a smidge higher on it. There is enough big spells to where I think we'll get some value.
Yeah, I guess the reason I'm lower on it is because you're probably not even playing it in Lorehold.
Yes, unless you're splashing, which again is just another part of the card that
Sure.
Whenever I'm rating things, I'm just like, well, it synergizes with this, so it gets like a little bonus. If it synergizes with this, it gets a little bonus. It hits enough things that I want cards to do to where I think we'll hit something.
Yep.
Okay. Sudden Breakthrough, 2 mana. Target creature gets +2/+0 and gains a first strike until end of turn. Create a treasure token. Fine. I tend to... It's like a sure strike ability, which I tend to be okay with running. The treasure token is great for the Prismari decks to ramp you into things, and it's hitting your Magecraft. So these types of spells seem stronger than they tend to.
Agreed, and now your Stormkilling Artist is a 6/2 first striker all of a sudden.
Right?
But still, I mean, I still have this at like a 2.
Okay, I'm going to be a little higher on it. I got it at a 2/5. Just because I think that it's got so many synergies with Prismari, with Magecraft. I'll give it a little bit of the benefit of the doubt. But I also play Sure Strike decks and Run Amok decks that you don't.
Yeah. I like Sure Strike way more than I like Run Amok.
They're both fun. I don't care what you say. My Run Amok decks have done very well. Okay, I'll have you know.
Because nobody plays around it, because it's a terrible card.
It isn't. It's not a terrible card. And that's great. If nobody plays around it and I just kill people with them, fantastic. I was actually in another stream and I saw another streamer saying, Run Amok's good, and they took it like very early, and the first thing I thought of was like, yes, suck it, Yanks. I wasn't even streaming. It was somebody else's stream. You weren't even there, and I just thought of you. All right, we got a 2/2 haster for 3. Exile an instant or sorcery card from your graveyard. Put a +1/+1 counter on this card. This is great. It triggers your things. It does the stuff. It's cute.
It's got great flavor text.
I didn't see it. The flavor text is kind of small.
Quintorius, would you care to explain why you didn't complete your homework?
Aw, he ate it. Cute. Yeah, this card is great. It's going to trigger your other Lorehold cards very well. On its own, it's not bad. It's a 2/2 haster for 3, which is fine. And then it has the ability to get bigger if it can't get in. See, LSV rated Run Amok highly. Great. I knew I wasn't the only one. I like this card at like a 3.
I'm definitely lower on it than you. I hate super aggressive cards that have to tap to do anything.
Well, so it's just an added bonus in that once your aggression fizzles out, you can then sink your turns into this to make this a threat again. I wasn't really thinking of it as like, we want to be casting this and then doing that. I want to be casting this, getting them to like 6, and then biding my time, drawing a removal spell, like pumping this guy, biding my time, and then draw a removal spell and get in.
Yeah, I guess, I don't know, 3 mana 2/2 haste feels bad. Usually that's a 3/2. I mean, I know it's got another ability, and that's why.
I think this is going to be one of the better engines for Lorehold to get cards out of your graveyard. With a pretty nice added bonus of having a permanent +1/+1 counter with it.
Yeah, I mean, I'll definitely play this if there's enough synergy with it. I don't know. I have this card closer to like a 2/5.
Okay.
If not, I mean, I'm closer to two than I am to 3.
Okay, I'm definitely not going to 3. I mean, sorry, definitely not going to 3/5. But yeah, I think I'm probably closer to whatever. We're a half point off. It's fine.
Yeah, yeah.
Double strike, 2/1 for 3. That seems expensive.
Yeah, I mean, it's cool art, but
This is the art we use for the red thumbnail.
Yep.
I picked it before reading the card.
Yeah, 3 and a 1/2 double strike. I mean, these cards are always good if you have, counter synergies or a lot of pump spells. They make your pump spells better, but it's a pretty bad card.
Yeah, it's moderately low impact. I mean, I would run this card for maybe 2 mana.
Yeah.
3 mana, nah.
Yeah, it's not the right creature type to do anything. Doesn't fit with really anything in the set.
Some of the combat tricks even give first strike, so it's kind of redundant.
Yeah. That's like a 1/5.
It gets really good with +1/+1 counters, says chat. I mean, anything gets better when you put counters on it. And then they 2-for-1 you, and then you're sad. So we like cards that do something on their own and don't need other things to help them necessarily before we get excited about playing it.
Yep.
Is this a 1 or is this a
1/5? I mean, there's going to be some decks where you might actually want it because you just have so many counters or pump spells, but it's going to be rare.
I agree with that. I don't think I'm happy to run this in most decks. And that's it, guys. That is the end of Red. So thank you guys so very much for joining us for the Red video. We will continue with the rest of this set. Yanks, thank you for joining us. I really appreciate it.
Anytime.
All right, we'll see you guys in the next one. Bye. I'd like to give a special thank you to those of you who have signed up for our Patreon. I couldn't make this content without you. Also to Cool Stuff Inc. and KMC Sleeves for supporting the channel as well. Definitely check them out and use our discount codes to support the channel.